Welcome to the Early Childhood Education, a constructivist approach for 21st century thinkers. My name is Carrie Snyder, and I'm very excited to be sharing this course with you. Constructivist education is not only one of my passions, but it is an approach to learning that is centuries old, which is interesting for the case that we're making today in the need for 21st century teaching in order to develop classrooms that are thinking classrooms that engage children actively in learning processes in order to help them be prepared for a future world. In this content talk, I'm going to provide a conceptual overview of the course, highlight some of the course assignments and activities that you will be doing, and then I'll discuss a little bit about how the online course modules will be laid out week by week. I want to introduce myself before I introduce the class. Again, I said my name is Dr. Carrie Snyder. I completed my PhD at the University of Missouri in Kansas City, where I studied early childhood education across curriculum, leadership, and policy foundations. My dissertation is actually on culturally responsive teaching self-efficacy, where I explored how teachers' self-efficacy for teaching culturally responsive teaching impacted children's achievement scores in reading and math assessments. I'm also very interested in approaches such as the project approach and other culturally and developmentally appropriate teaching styles to meet not only the individual needs of learners, which as an early childhood teacher myself, I've always been dedicated to developmentally appropriate practice as outlined by our National Association for Young Children and all of the great articles and studies and textbooks that you're probably familiar with in your undergrad and that you're getting more familiar with in our master's program. One of the things that I wanted to share with you is that I am going into my 25th year in teaching. I began my career as a classroom teacher. I am a double major, so I had 2 degrees, one in early childhood education, birth through 3rd grade, and one in elementary education, 1st grade through 8th grade. I always thought I was going to be a kindergarten teacher, always wanted to be a kindergarten teacher, but was offered a position in an elementary setting prior to graduation. So what do you do when you're offered that job? You take it. So I taught 5th grade my first year of teaching. I also taught 2nd grade over 2 summer schools prior to moving into kindergarten. That was back when the state of Missouri had half-day programs and had a huge explosion for early childhood teachers in the state because we moved from half-day programs to full-day programs. When my oldest son was born on the first day of school, my 5th year teaching, which is not how teachers are having babies, right? The first day of school, we're not usually having a baby then. After that year, I was able to move into a pre-K position where I taught part-time 2 days a week and then taught full-time 3 days a week. And my son at the time was able to go to the child care center that was attached with the pre-K center. Now, interestingly, I have to share with you that when I was in school for my undergrad, I never saw myself as a pre-K teacher. I never looked below kindergarten in all actuality. But what became a necessity for me in my life as a mother actually has become my passion. And I've been able to have experiences across all grade levels due to my administrative background. I was an early childhood education center associate director, and I was the assistant principal of a pre-K through 8th grade school. I actually started the early childhood program there and was able to also then interact very intensely in the middle school program. From there, I entered into higher education, where I've served in a variety of roles such as teacher educator, researcher. I've been a coach of teachers, of principals, in many different capacities. Primarily, I coach on the project approach and culturally responsive teaching and cultural competence and integrated early childhood practices. I'm a consultant independently through my work with the project approach and other educational strengths. I'm a board member on state level boards. I serve on an advisory board for our current Stronger Together Missouri preschool development block, which is a federal grant that the state of Missouri has received, which has provided over $40 million for our state and our early childhood systems. I do a lot of work on these volunteer boards to advocate for children and families, to advocate for best practices, to guide and lead educational experiences for all sorts of early childhood stakeholders across our state. And I am also an author and editor. I have authored several different articles and book chapters and other books, but what I'm really excited about is that my very first editing publication just came out this Christmas, and it's entitled Growing Child Intellect, the Manifesto for Engaged Learning in the Early Years. This is actually the third book in the series of books written by Judy Harris Helm. Judy Harris Helm's textbooks, first two textbooks that lead up to this book, are the two books that you'll be using in this class. And so with this course, we are going to be thinking of the underpinning, those fundamental theoretical and research aspects of constructivism that help us conceptualize 21st century teaching and learning. We have to always think about the standards and curriculum and instructional practices and how we continue to have professional development and what kind of learning environments are necessary. One of the most important aspects as an early childhood teacher is to remember the natural ways, the natural approaches that children have for learning are full of these four thinking skills. In fact, these are instincts that Dewey first predicted and wrote about over 100 years ago, and that is the child's social instinct, the need to collaborate, and the child's need to express their ideas through communication, the child's need, the art instinct to be creative, and the child's instinct to solve problems and to use critical thinking. So these features of 21st century teaching and learning are actually the processes of the project approach. And what's nice about the project approach is it gives you a structure and it outlines specific processes in order for all of this to come together in the classroom. And so as we continue to think about student-centered teaching and learning, when you read in the green text, which is Young Investigators, you're going to read about a curriculum continuum. And there are different ways that we have to teach in the classroom. We are teaching math, we are teaching reading at certain grade levels, first, second, third grade in particular. There are specific skills that need to be taught in order for children to progress through those particular disciplines. However, we also know that children have to have time, especially in the early years, to develop executive function skills, and that teaching and learning should follow what we know about brain development, and that ultimately, aside from facts and aside from memorizing basic facts and focusing on isolated skills, we need to be focused on thinking and how to get children to be actively engaged in their learning experiences so that they are thinking. You will hear me from time to time say things about not doing worksheets. You'll hear me really help to parcel out differences between cute, crafty type activities, coloring sheet, art crafts types of activities, and really moved to activities that are based on children's processing and representing their ideas, representing their thinking. So these are some of the things that we will not only read about, write about, talk about, think about. These will also be opportunities for you to create student-centered learning opportunities through following the project approach. Theoretical knowledge. Overall, the assignments in this course help you to process and deepen your understandings of constructivism theory while then working to apply theoretical understandings in an actual teaching format. So you will have reflection journals, which will allow you to analyze constructivist theory in practice. You will go through the methodologies of the project approach to examine different ways to find out what children are interested in and how to select appropriate, developmentally appropriate and project approach appropriate curriculum topics. You will also plan active engaged learning experiences for young children and implement those experiences. And then at the end of the course, you will present your learning professionally to an audience, and that will help you examine an assessment of teaching and learning in this manner. Before I talk about instructor contact information, I want to talk to you about the first assignment of this week, and that is really where you're going to read an article about writing, scholarly writing, and how you use critical thinking in your scholarly writing. One thing that I know can be challenging as a new master's student or a master's student period is just continuing to build your own writing capacity so that by the time you lead up to your capstone project, you've had multiple experiences and courses to really develop as a scholar. Graduate students, we want them to be able to have that capacity. And so the first actual activity is to read through an article to help you develop an understanding of that. And then there's there's 3 different activities you can choose from. So it's your choice. And then we'll just share those via discussion board. My goal for that assignment this first week is to really help you get a mindset of how you will write the reflective journals and then how you will be able to write in all of your other coursework as you move forward in the program. So that is about the course. If you need to contact me, please email me. It is the easiest way to do it. Sometimes if I'm really busy, you might get a very brief, short response from me. Sometimes it may take me a little bit of time, just depending on whether I'm traveling in the car or whether I'm teaching, but I usually get back to students very, very, very soon. If I get an email in the evening, sometimes my evenings get filled up, and so it may just be the next morning before you hear from me. If you ever have an emergency, something that you really need to get a hold of me for, my cell phone is available to you. Also, one thing that I'll be doing as we get started in the semester is I will be surveying each of you to see if there's an evening time that throughout the semester we might contact each other and have a group Zoom meeting. It wouldn't be for a full 3-hour course like if we had a face-to-face course together, but it would be, there's at least 2 times in the semester that I think it would really benefit us to be able to talk together, particularly as you're learning some new planning processes. I'm really excited about this course. If you ever need me, if you have a concern, or if you're really excited about something, don't hesitate to contact me. Looking forward to working with you all and diving in to constructivism.